Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Hozier album, Wasteland Baby. Mr. Andrew Hozier Byrne, he's been around for a couple of years now. You probably know him from his 2014 big single, Take Me to Church. Now, at the time, I did sort of enjoy the single, but at the same time, I kind of wrote this guy off for a while. At the time, I just sort of figured that he was just another alternative star who's highly polished and just had no edge to it. But upon revisiting the album that this track came off of, I really honestly can't hate this guy. This album was packed with soulful, powerful tunes, diving into some pretty personal topics. And at the same time, it sort of gave nods to the blues and elements of soul and modern R&B, as well as some indie rock and folk thrown in as well. Sure, it was a very clean, very pristine album, but tracks like Sedated, as well as Jackie and Wilson, just actually really came off as fantastic tunes. Now, it's certainly been a while. There was the Nina Cried Power EP last year that was pretty solid, but besides that, Hozier's been pretty quiet, and for the most part, I've actually enjoyed a lot of the singles leading up to this album. So without further ado, let's chat about it. This album starts off with Nina Cried Power featuring Mavis Staples, and honestly, this track is to die for. Like, I actually think this is a genuinely fantastic track. It's maybe not as rustic as I would like, but it's pretty upbeat and just a really powerful folk tune with nods to the blues and soul all over the place. But where Hozier kind of lacks in forward-thinking ideas, he really makes up for it with some of the most emotional performances you're going to hear in these genres. This track is absolutely gargantuan. Now here, there are a lot of the same elements that showed up on his debut, such as the spiritual elements, the church organs, as well as nods to R&B. It's just a staggering tune overall, and Mavis Staples' performance as well is just unbelievable. Like, they have some serious chemistry here. I'm done raving about this. This track is fantastic. Then we have Almost, sweet music, and honestly, a lot of the same elements that showed up on the intro show up here, which is kind of something you're going to notice happens a lot with this album, but for now, I don't mind it that much. Because the truth is that Hozier's very soulful, bluesy performances more often than not are really likable. This one has some very punchy guitars, which I really like, but the very pristine production is here to stay. That's going to be up to you how you feel about that, really. Like, I can honestly take it or leave it. There are some times where I wish he would get a little bit more rustic, but for now, and more importantly for a very pristine soul track in 2019, this is a pretty decent tune. Not to mention, these backing vocals are seriously classy. No Plan has a little bit more of an airier feel to it, which honestly I don't mind that much. Thank God he found his electric guitar here. Really happy to hear that. And I actually really love Hozier's very bluesy, raspy performance here. Even lyrically, this just comes off like it has a little bit of an edge to it. That's really exciting to me. Hozier, at the end of the day, when he's on, can really write a very hypnotizing tune that's very easy to get caught up in. This is just a great modern blues tune. Nothing flashy, just really great. Later on in the album, Talk is actually one of the more interesting tracks here. Like, at its core, this kind of just sounds like a very cleanly polished alternative rock tune. But Hozier here absolutely has some serious swagger to his performance. Not to mention there's some genuine mystery in these bass licks. I really love it. For a few short minutes, Hozier absolutely sounds like a rock star. To be honest, it may just be the most straightforward tune here, but it's just so obvious for Hozier, and I don't really mind it. Like, when this track is on, it's giving me the damn chills. I love it. And not for nothing, Dinner and Diatribes might be the best tune here. It's a really great, upbeat, bluesy stomper with a very soulful performance. But most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, this is just something different for Hozier. Like, I don't know where this sound has been. I'd love to hear more of it. Hell, it even has a little bit of outlaw feel to it. Like, where did that come from? To be honest, if we had more tracks like this, I'd have a lot more great things to say about this album. But sadly, there is a huge chunk in the middle of this album of tracks that are just plain bad. First off, we have Nobody. And this track's really depressing because Hozier really goes out of his way here to bring in some more interesting instrumentals, things that we haven't heard so far yet, which I commend. But this track to me is just so faceless. I just feel like this isn't a Hozier tune at the end of the day. Like, I honestly don't feel like this is a Hozier tune at the end of the day. Like, thankfully, this guy can sing. His performance is absolutely incredible here. Because, like, I'm just not into the total package of this tune. It's just really a very unfocused track. Then we have To Noise Making, which is a completely different monster. Like, this track is basically a pop tune at the end of the day. And I seriously mean that. The blues vibes here have almost completely left us. Like, it's strange, but I almost feel like this is Hozier's version of a karaoke tune. Like, he doesn't even sound like he's completely 100% into this. If this track didn't have backing vocals, like, this would have been an absolute travesty. Lyrically, I still think that he brings a lot to the table, and there's some interesting stuff going on here, but that's where I draw the line. And honestly, at first, as it was, came off to me like the kind of track that I really wanted to hear him on. But this track is absolutely the most boring tune here. I think his very smoky vocals are really classy, but that's about all that happens here. Nothing else remotely interesting happens. I'm completely falling asleep listening to this track. Like, this has just such a dark, rustic sound. I should be going crazy right now, but I'm falling asleep. And a lot of the other tracks here just kind of fall in the middle between really good and just really bad and just end up coming off average. Like, I hate to keep bringing it up, but this is probably the cleanest alternative rock album that you're going to hear all year. Like, tracks like Movement start off very clean, no edge in sight, and I just get all pissed off. But then I just hear Hozier's performance, and I can't help but feel all warm and fuzzy inside. This track, however, is just completely middle of the road. As far as his vocal performances goes, I think that this is actually probably one of my favorite tunes of the bunch. Like, it's absolutely gripping and seriously haunting at times, and this chorus is gigantic. But instrumentally, I don't know how many ways I could say this. This track is boring. The keyboards are a nice touch, but that's just about it. Later on in the album, Shrike is pretty average. Like, I don't hate it completely. It's actually a pretty decent little folk tune. It's very light, it's very airy, and the very breezy performance actually comes off really nice here. Like, to be honest, his vocal performance here is actually really interesting. It's not nearly as over the top, and it's honestly just very beautiful at times. As far as lighter tunes go, I don't hate this. Things get even more middle of the road when we get to later tracks like Me. Once again, as far as a modern blues track goes, this sounds good. My only real issue is the same issue that I've had with a lot of other tracks here. These tracks are starting to blend together. Like, a lot of these late tunes, they're not bad. They're actually pretty decent, but literally it's for the same reason that the first 9 tracks were decent. Even the chorus on this track, I feel like I've been here before. And some of these verses are criminally repetitive. It's not bad, but I just need a little bit more of a switch up. Late in the album, we get Would That I, which honestly just takes the wind out of me. Like, he's proven here that he could do a like more stripped down folk tune. I thought I'd be more into that. But this one, on the other hand, is just a little too whimsical, a little bit too airy for my liking. Not to mention, here vocally, he doesn't even sound like himself outside of that big beefy chorus. And, in Hozier's defense, this chorus is unbelievable and gigantic and so powerful. It's everything else here that's just very wishy-washy. Sunlight, once again, really isn't that bad. But here I am on track 13. I'm praising the same things. I'm yelling about the same things. That's an issue. To be honest, this really isn't a bad tune. As a matter of fact, it's really powerful. But it's powerful for the same reason that every other track here has been powerful. Like, for now, I think Sunshine's a really great tune, but I can't stress this enough. In the future, I really want to hear Hozier kind of branch off into some different things. But once again, he does end up saving his ass with some very powerful, emotional performances. Sadly, though, I'd rather hear him play it safe on that track than completely fall flat on his face with this album's finale, the title track to this album. This track is a mess. Like, I want to hear him branch out, but this is boring and legitimately puzzling. Like, his vocal effects here, like, who in the world thought that was a good idea? Not to mention, this instrumental is a wash. This is bad as a finale. So honestly, I don't really completely hate this album. As a matter of fact, when this album is on, Hozier's performances are completely electric and just great modern blues tunes. Like, I can't completely write home about this album. The production is super clean, there's no edge in sight, and like I've said more times than not here, there are a lot of tunes here that just have the same qualities, positive and negative. Plus, this album could have been trimmed down a little. It's pretty damn long. But for now, I don't completely hate this album. So for now, I'm feeling a light 7, but let me know what you guys think down below. As always, if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down below what you guys would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a good day, guys.